All right, guys, thanks for joining us. I'm here with Brian Imperiale, and he is the new head coach at Tampa, um, in the Tampa Spartans D2. They have had 4 national championships in the past. He's been a part of a few of them as well, and 20 South Conference, I think is what it's called, and championships. And he is currently 3-0, undefeated in his season. So just fresh, brand new into the season. And yeah, thanks for joining me, man.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So how's the beginning of the season going? 3-0. What's it looking like?
Yeah, it was a big weekend for us. Just obviously my first weekend as head coach, and just for the team. Catnax was here for 41 years, so it's an adjustment for me, for the team, for everybody. So it was really important that we got off to a good start, I think, just for our confidence and the team. We lost some, pretty key pieces from last year's team. So we're only 3 weeks into even practicing. So pretty wild how fast it all kicks off, but it was definitely a good start. So
Yeah, that's good. And how long were you with Chris and helping at Tampa?
this is my 12th season here, so 11 years. Back in 2014 was my first fall.
Okay. And you were associate head coach? So like right under him?
Yeah. There's really only one full-time assistant here, so we have a lot of people on staff, but most are volunteers or managers. Yeah, so I was the one assistant for all that time.
Awesome. Yeah. So few rings in the back, I see. That's definitely
Yep,
adding to the.
this is actually my new assistant's now office, but my old office, so it's a little bare right now. But he helped out with our indoor team as a grad assistant, and he was a part of our beach team winning a bunch of national championships. So that is his collection of rings back there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So 3 weeks of practice. I wanted to kind of jump on here and see about what your practices kind of look like throughout the season and talk about some of the nuances of practice as you take over the new head coaching position, what your practices would look like. What does it look like when you're recruiting girls and you're trying to get them to come into your culture and your practice? Do you try to find someone that is physically athletic to try and do those things, or more of a culture fit when it comes to your team?
I'd say it's like 50-50. I think there's recruiting wise, there's got to be a minimum kind of athleticism that we're looking for in our hitters.
Sure.
And then, the culture piece is just huge for us. We really like to recruit freshmen, and we want kids to stay here for 4 years. Our current team, we're only at 14 kids, but every kid on our team currently started here as a freshman. Not one transfer on the team, so that's probably pretty rare. So just, the culture piece, it's really tough. You get a feel, but sometimes, it's hard to really get to know somebody before they step foot in your gym and you get them here full time. But I just think we've been really fortunate. And then, when you have a good culture, when kids come in, it's just easier for them to acclimate to it, So if they, maybe aren't exactly what you were looking for, they kind of have to fall in line, and they kind of become what you're looking for, I would say.
Yeah. Do you take into account how they were trained previously? Like if you're recruiting from a certain club, are you taking into account how they were trained, or you're just hoping that once you get them, you can kind of like mold them to what you need to, as well as the leaders on the team, like the seniors, maybe helping kind of like demonstrate that?
Yeah, training wise, I don't think we're too much about, we do run like a 0 tempo middle, or we try to. So that's something in recruiting that we're looking for. I would say that's the one thing. Like, does a kid they don't really have to be trained to go 0 tempo, but do they have that ability? But I would say, I was having this conversation with some of the coaches who were here at the tournament this weekend. If a kid, say a middle, can't go quite 0 tempo, they just, aren't acclimated for it. Like, what can they do, and we're just going to try and figure out what they can do and put them in a position to do that, even if it's not a perfect system fit. So it's kind of a mix. We're just going to train them as best we can, and then try and figure out their strengths and how can we accentuate those strengths.
Yeah, like that middle I saw in the video, y'all ran like a back two ball on with it.
Oh yeah.
That was nasty.
Trying to be alone, but just it was a long way away.
Yeah, for sure. I like when middles are just making that decision, or even the setters just being like, stay behind me. Like, don't try to come and run and one in front of me. Stay behind me. Keep the middle in the middle of the court, and then you kind of crank those two balls. We call it a blue in our gym, but I like running the middles a little higher when it's that kind of out of system a little bit. That zero tempo or quick tempo is good to keep that middle solid and staying on the other side.
For sure.
Yeah. What's your like practice groups look like? Kind of, are you pulling those middles and those setters out, pulling the outsides out? So like, do you do some group training with your players?
Yeah, a typical day. Again, we had preseason for only a week where we did 2 days, and for the past 2 weeks we've just been in our normal like school schedule. So every day we have really young setters. We have 2 freshmen and a sophomore, and the sophomore did not get a ton of time last year. We had a really good setter running a 5-1, and they had some time in the spring. One of the setters was an early enrollee, so she was here in the spring as well. But we have them at 2:00 every day right now for 30 minutes. The 3 setters. So we just feel, we've got to do a lot of work there. They have a ton of potential. So we're really pouring into them in that time, and they're really committed to coming in for that, those extra 30 minutes every day. And then we'll have some kids, maybe a middle wants to come hop in, or an outside is really just not feeling something, and they'll hop into that little block, and we'll try and get them in as best we can. And then during practice, we'll do a little split training as far as, like a hitter school type thing with middles and pins going separate and just rotating the setters. We're actually trying to we did it in the spring just because we had to, but we've kind of continued it in the fall where we're having our middles just hit high balls and out of system balls. When we do out of system drill, they just hop in, they hit left side high balls, right side high balls. And, one of our right sides is like a converted middle. Mac, who actually, played at top select a little bit, Carter. She's playing on the right side mostly, but there's times where we want to run her in the middle, and then we're going to keep our middles maybe on a right side ball. So they just need to work at it. They might get left over there if they're on a slide and out of system. We don't want to not be able to set them a high ball. So
so you're running almost it's like a true pin hitter system where you're trying to train them in multiple things and they be versatile.
Yeah,
that's what I try to tell my girls. I'm like, when I ask them what position they play, and they always tell me one thing, I go, no, you're a pin. Like, you need to learn to hit right side too. And just be comfortable telling the outside, stay, or the right side, stay. And we're good for, a couple of plays or one play.
Yeah, and then, like rotation 1, whatever. When we go spread, we never switch. We leave them where they're at, and they got to be comfortable on both pins. Yeah.
Going back to the freshman idea, are you putting in a little bit more work with them at the beginning of the season, or are you hoping you're throwing them in the fire in practices and hopefully they like catch up a little bit?
Well, we have a pretty unique situation. So 2 of the freshmen are setters, and then 1 is like a libero DS. We only have 1 hitter, and she's going to be out for a while. She came in with she's coming off labrum surgery from like February, so she's been cleared, but it's going to take her some time to just get her strength up. So really, 2 out of the 3 that are actually can play are setters. So we're spending a ton of time with them. Trying to get them up to speed.
Awesome. How long is your practices usually?
So the longest we will go is like 2:30 to 5:15, but a couple days a week we're lifting 2:30 to 3:15. Monday we actually watch a video after that lift, so we only, we're always done by 5:15. So that day we're probably going like an hour and a half max on Mondays, and then Tuesday could be a long practice, but we'll usually meet, and we're doing some long kind of like cool down stretching, maybe 20 minutes. So I don't know, around 2 hours. We only have 14 kids on the team, and that's a little bit smaller than we're used to.
Oh yeah.
And
Usually
we've
it's like
really been
18 or
trying
something.
to not, yeah, normally, 16, 18.
Okay.
And I'm really trying not to kill them. We have definitely a philosophy of practicing really fast. That's something that Coach Katnack was just huge about, the pace of drills in the gym, the pace, just we want to be in better shape than the other team. We want to get more accomplished in the same amount of time. But we've had to dial that back down just to keep everyone healthy and really being aware of how many reps they're getting. It's been a little change for the players, I feel like, too. Like practice is just moving a little bit slower. So there's a little bit, it's a little harder to keep your focus when it's moving slower. And there's even times where, we have some managers that are on the men's club volleyball team, and like say we're doing just like we're defending some kind of offensive set against a defense, and when our kids aren't on the defense, they want to go hit. But I'm like, maybe we don't need you to hit here. Like just let the guys hit. And they're so used to, last year we had like 8 pin hitters, and this year we have maybe like 5 or 6. So it's just a really different mentality at practice.
So jumping on pace, is it the drill that's slower, or like you're hopping in between drills slower? Or let's say 2-hour practice, you're probably going to have maybe maximum 5 drills kind of working on certain things.
Yeah.
Is it that the drill is slower so it's more blocked, or is it more of like just kind of the pace of practice throughout the whole thing?
I'd say the pace is a little bit slower, not all the time, but I think we're just doing less. Like preseason was a great example. We get this like 5 hours a day. And I remember in the past, just like, man, we were getting every ounce out of that 5 hours. And this year it was just like, we're going to do our ball control in the morning. We're not going to jump really at all. And then the afternoon, we had this big block of practice, and we just never used the whole thing. And it was just, we couldn't, I didn't think, they come from nothing to getting in there. And of course, everyone's got all these little issues going on, and you're just trying to keep them healthy and, get them up to speed. So it's a little bit of both. Again, it's just not going too long. And we'll still do, the other day at practice, we did a drill where we call it like speed ball or speed play. And it's just, we played a game to 25, but basically, whoever's won the point, the server's got like 5 seconds to get back there, and we're blowing the whistle for serve. And they were gassed, but that's a drill we really need, and we maybe used to do a whole practice where we were going that fast. And now it's just like a little period of practice.
Do you want to eventually get faster, or is it just at this point you're kind of okay with the pace?
It depends. I think we like to practice fast. I think it's just keeping in mind like how long are we going for.
That's true.
And not going to, because again, nobody likes a slow practice where you're talking a ton in between drills. I do like sometimes, just emulating the set breaks. Like the other day, I just said, hey guys, go out in the hallway for 3 minutes and I'll call you back in here, just in the middle of practice, and just let them get out of the gym for a second, and then they got to come in and get refocused for the next drill. But anything longer than that, we don't like stopping drills to have these long conversations. You're talking to one person. It's just, everyone hates that.
Sure. I like the idea. That's a different nuance you have to deal with in college than you do club and high school, is that like in between sets and having to even think about that. So it's so funny that you're even like taking that into account. I would assume y'all even like practice your warm-ups before your drill. Like you do kind of a walkthrough of your warm-up maybe before a tournament or a game, just to
Yeah.
be able to have that narrowed down and stuff.
We've actually done that quite a bit. Every day we would do something, and we use a lot of those same drills to warm up for practice. And I feel like, again, that's what they're going through, warm up in the game.
Yeah.
You want them to be really good at just knowing the drill, and kind of all the kids, some of it's the assistants are running, but some of it, we let the players have the responsibility. Like, we're doing this defensive progression. When do we switch? Then we're going out of system. What's the timing? And they kind of run it all and really take a lot of ownership. But I totally agree that we practiced it a lot, so they are like really comfortable, and that, the more comfortable they are pregame, they know what's going on, who's where.
Yeah.
There's not all these little like, doubts creeping into their head that this isn't going well. How do we look? You want them really fine-tuned with what we're doing in warm-ups.
Yeah, solid. Going back to the video quick on Mondays, what are you watching video on? Is it yourselves? Is it how to do something?
It's ourselves. Like we scrimmaged Eckerd last weekend before this. So on Monday we just watched a ton of stuff. And for me, I really like to show them how they did it right more than what they did wrong. I really don't want to go and have this video session where all I do is show them what they did wrong. It's like really easy to pull that stuff up, but I want to show them how they did it right. And I'd say it's like, 75-25 positive, because there's, again, you're winning or losing whatever 50% of the points, and so you could go either way with it. But man, it's just such a better confidence boost when you're showing them how they did it right, as opposed to this just, here's where you did this wrong. Here's where you did this wrong. Here's where you did that wrong. That there's definitely time for that, but it just can beat them up a little bit. So yeah, it's mostly watching ourselves, and we're going to go through, like I was going through yesterday, just clipping some stuff, and, had some just phenomenal plays over the weekend, of kids just going for it in different ways. And, just want to say, hey, this is what it looks like when you're really aggressive at the net, or this is what it looks like when our setters are being really aggressive. And, we're talking about playing really free right now and not being afraid of making mistakes. So we're just looking for examples of that. And there's nothing cooler than showing just a awesome play, in video, and having everyone get hyped about it. So yeah.
Well, and they're gonna want to put that on their socials and all that, and they want to be featured on the Tampa social probably. So yeah, I could see them getting hype about that and wanting more of it, as opposed to constantly showing them mistakes, and then they're like, okay, well, if everything I'm doing is wrong, I'm gonna keep failing. It's that like, one negative and two positives or something is good philosophy. So you said you don't like to really stop drills and talk to them about stuff. Is there a time where you're doing that, or even after drill, you're coming together and talking about how the drill went, or what's that?
I'd say there's always, the pre-explanation. There's always the little discussion after if we need to. If not, we're moving on to the next thing. And I mean, we definitely, depending on what it is, like we do stop it. We have a awesome clock operator / manager, Peyton, who it's really great because, we might be doing something for 3 minutes, and if I start talking, like, she knows when to stop the clock, and kind of hold, so we're not, blowing through this big chunk of time. But even the older players are talking to some of the younger players and saying, hey, if you have a question, like, try and ask us off the court when you're out, or try and ask us first if it's a really quick thing. Like, let's try not to. And I'm totally cool with that, although there's definitely a place where I'm going to come in and talk, and they can feel free to ask me questions. But, the players also just don't want practice to get really choppy. And they're just kind of setting that standard with, when's the best time to ask questions.
What does a successful drill, like, when do you know a drill is successful or that they're training something well? Is it a certain amount of points, something tangible like a certain amount of points, or is it just like, okay, I think we flowed well, we made enough progress today? Like, what in your mind looks like a successful drill, and when do you know to move on from that drill?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of go in with a baseline of time, and I think if it is a lot about the flow, or they, we're gonna try and tailor the score possibly to what we're going for, but sometimes it could just be like this out of system hitting high and deep, and or maybe not scoring what we're doing. It's just more of an individual drill, and just are we having a really good focus of what we're doing with the ball, and is it intense, and they're kind of just the vibe of it. So we might repeat it. We might say, hey, we're done. That was good. Or a little early. I think in general, like one thing we're doing at practice that we started in the spring is on the kind of the front of the whiteboard, we've got our practice plan for the day. And then the back of the whiteboard, each kid has like a little box. And they've kind of got like what they're working on that, in that box. And then at the end of the day, they are rating their practice, but it's like not their skill, it's like your effort, your energy, all that stuff, like your controllables. So they're putting up a score like 1 to 10. And that has been huge for us to just try and separate that from like the skill day that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And that it takes some time to get them to understand it. But like last Monday, the average of the score was probably like a 7.1. And on Tuesday, we just talked about it, and it was a Monday practice. So it was really short. It was after the weekend because we had watched video, we had lifted. But it's just, you guys maybe didn't play good, but like this, we're talking about controllables and we're getting a 7.1.
Yeah.
Like that can't be happening, right? And the next day, it was a long practice, but it wasn't, obviously it's easy for kids. You play a lot of sixes. It's easy to focus when you're playing sixes and have energy. But we did some drills again where it was like defending certain plays, and we would just stop with like a dig, set, catch on the defensive side. And I'm really big on like, we're not going to waste a bunch of reps playing it out when we're working on a specific thing, but it's like, when do you end the drill when you're not playing it out? And I just feel like we want to end it on the catch of the attack. So kids are having to transition on the defensive side, and we're getting a set. So if we dig it, we're getting some kind of set, whether it's out of system, in system, and then we're covering. And it is so easy in that type of drill for that defense to not like do that to completion. And it gets, that's one of the things that really gets to me when we're not doing that. And we talked about it before, how like, let's not have this be a drill where every 3 minutes I'm back here like, guys, we got to cover. I'm telling you, we got to cover. I want this to go all the way to the catch, right?
Yeah.
Like real volleyball, even though we're not hitting it back at them. And that day, man, they were just like every ball we would get a dig. Somebody's yelling out of system. We're getting up a great ball. We're transitioning. We're covering. People are yelling cover every time. And it's just like, you're like, okay, like this is going really well. People are listening and being intentional. And then, at the end of practice, we had like an average of like a 9.1 was the score for the day. And it's just making the point of like, guys, this practice, it wasn't because of the practice that it was fast and fun and whatever. Like that drill was like very boring in a way, right? When you're not playing it out. But man, the intentionality of what they were doing was just like super high. So that was awesome to see, and just making sure that they like, that's exactly what we're talking about, is how to make the most out of practice, and drills that are not going to be, super fun per se. Like they're slower, because we are coaching a little bit more in that when we're talking about how we're going to defend this like row one stack and, stopping and starting. But man, their focus was just really awesome.
Well, and then that becomes the standard. Then you're like, okay, you can never do it not like this again.
Yeah.
Because now this is the standard.
And it's pretty cool.
I think me and you did talk about that before, where like I started statting at the end of practice, effort, leadership, communication, effort, communication, like teammate, being a good teammate,
Yeah.
and then
Yep.
focus. I
Yeah.
think me and you talked about that,
Yeah,
how
we
like
did that in
that becomes important.
2021. In 2021, we did it at the end of the season. We ended up winning a national championship that year, but we just had, some challenging kids, let's say, on the team that year.
Mm,
And we really like didn't always have a great practice and didn't have people who were that, excited for practice. So
yeah.
we had a big team meeting and we kind of decided, and the players kind of guided the players into like, what should we rate about each other on a daily basis. And we decided, I think, on those things, the communication, the effort,
Yeah.
and just, how are you as a teammate? And it paid off for sure. And it's just really nice to go back to at the end of practice. And even one of our kids, the freshman who's not playing, the day we had like a 9.1, she rated herself a 6.7.
Mm,
And it's like, hey, why'd you give yourself that? And she's like, well, I just, didn't feel like I brought energy today, and because we've been talking to her, obviously, like, you're out, but
yeah.
she does some ball control stuff, but when we're playing sixes, she's on the sideline. But man, she's got a role to bring it for us on the sideline, whether that's hustling and shagging, but definitely being engaged in the game and screaming her head off and encouraging people and trying to learn. And yeah, even her, like, she can bring it. And it was cool that she was really honest about it and that she was aware of,
Yeah. Yeah.
she gave herself a poor score, but the next day she came back and really changed it. So it was awesome.
Yeah. When I started doing it in 2017, that's when I won the state championship.
There you
So
go.
I'd be
Must be
something.
something to it.
There is. I think so. Do
Yeah.
you like, let's say a girl puts a high number, like she thought she was like a 8.8 that round or that like practice. Do you let the other girls kind of be like, maybe your communication wasn't so great today? Or do you just kind of let it be and then maybe you
But just let it be. I might
okay.
ask in front of the team, just like a good or bad, like, hey, saw you gave yourself a 9.8. Why?
Yeah,
What do
yeah,
you think? And they just go for it. And um, this team right now, there's not a lot of nobody's questioning anybody's score as far as like that they weren't pretty in it. I think this team is harder on themselves than like they go that way where they're being really
yeah,
hard on themselves. They're going to give themselves a worse score than maybe they deserve.
yeah,
And that kind of starts with Natalie, one of our leaders of the team. She's the first one to call herself out at the end of a practice if she didn't have a good practice. So
yeah,
she's really setting the standard as far as that goes.
yeah. So quickly on the whiteboard, you're using one side practice plan, one side like player goals, player stats. Are you taking stats on the whiteboard?
Not taking stats on the whiteboard.
Okay.
We just have those boxes. They're pretty big. So they have basically like what they're working on, just a way to be mindful. And they don't go
Goal,
and
yeah,
like look at it every day. They've got 5 or 6 things and they can go up and change them whenever they want. And we're just looking at them, every couple days, or I'll walk by and just, hey, what's Ari got on there, and
yeah,
then I'll just grab her before practice and being like, talk to me a little bit about this, like what you're doing. Here's what we're doing in practice today. Here's a chance that you're going to have to really work on this thing, maybe, just kind of
yeah,
preloading when the opportunity might come for them to do something. But yeah, that's on the back. Stats wise, we have a lot of managers, and it's really pretty incredible. We have like, Andres is our full-time assistant, and he was a GA here, went to school here, and did data volley for us. And then Cody is still around. He's been here since 2014. He's like a
you've
volunteer.
been there a
He
while.
was our original like data volley guy. And then we have the kid who runs our men's club volleyball program, and he's been doing data volley, and now we're into volley station, but for 3 years. And then we have another girl who can also do a manager who can do volley station. So the two managers, will just code all the sixes. And sometimes, the players want to see it. Sometimes we'll put on a TV. But there's some players who, they've realized like they don't even want to look at the stats because they just start getting mentally, whatever, they start getting fixated on it. And I think it's really cool that they just don't even want to look at it, because you go over there and you see, oh, I'm hitting 200, I've got like 2 kills, and whatever, I've had 10 swings, and I gotta get a kill on the next one. It's just, it's just not healthy all the time, because you never know what the next ball is going to look like, and you don't want to be thinking that in your head. You just want to kind of get after it, let the game come to you at times. So most of it's just like on the computer, and we'll be looking at stats just during the breaks, just to see if what we feel is actually happening. It's just a good reality check.
Are you doing sixes every practice?
Yeah, I'd say we're doing sixes. If Monday is probably only maybe like 15 minutes at the end. Okay. But yeah, I mean, again, sixes is what they want to do, and playing volleyball makes it better. Playing volleyball, there's no doubt about it. So
game teaches the game.
Yeah. So we're gonna play a lot of sixes, and it might be just like rotation based, right, where we're going like 5 balls each way and some type of drill, where we're working on specific stuff, but definitely just like playing it out. And I love making bad calls and not blowing the whistle. You should see the fights that happen in the gym when I don't blow
I get those a lot too.
Yeah. And I really enjoy the interaction. I used to get like irritated as a younger coach when the players would like argue with me, about calls, but now I just like love it. It's just funny.
Yeah. I assume the sixes increases through the season. Obviously, you're playing more, you're working on less kind of fundamental thing, which I think also too is like a big misconception, is that once you get to college, a lot of the colleges don't work on fundamental stuff, but you're still in there probably grinding, passing, platform angles, and footwork and transitions. But I could assume that the sixes increases through the season. Is that correct?
Probably. I mean, we're doing a lot of sixes now, It's just we got to get ready to play. So it's like, and we only have the 3 weeks before we had to play this weekend. So there was already a lot of sixes going on. And, again, with Catnack, it was always like beginning of practice, we're going to clean up stuff and do, whatever we need to work on, just some fast things. And so we still kind of do it like that. But pretty soon we just want to get into some volleyball type stuff, pretty fast. And it could just be 5-on-5, or like a Neville's with the, middle front row setter and the back row attack. And, but yeah, it's just, everyone enjoys it when you're competing, playing volleyball.
Sure. Yeah. 2 more quick questions here. One's just kind of what's your philosophy on consequences, or what's the team loses, you have a drill where it's, okay, we're going to play to 25, winner takes all kind of thing. And does the loser have anything to do?
We actually don't have any consequences for losing. We have consequences for non-effort plays.
Okay.
So like no-goes, we call them. And in the preseason, I hate running no-goes, like not actually physically running them, but just hate the players running them. Because it's just a lot of stress on your body to run sprints when you're tired. But, the players, we sometimes call them out and we might not run them in the preseason. But since then, we've kind of been running them. And the players are really good this year about just calling them on themselves, which is really nice, And again,
awesome.
It's just an interesting thing, no-goes, because sometimes it can be such a cause of like animosity, but I really don't want it to be like that. It's just, hey guys, this effort was not good enough. We don't have to get pissed about it. We don't have to, like, if somebody says that was a no-go, you're not going to get pissed at them. Was it debatable? Maybe, but we're just trying to set a standard for effort, and we don't need to like have any friction about it. Just make an effort next time. And we'll talk about, when they happen, like, why did it happen? Because a lot of them are communication based, not necessarily effort based, just hesitating because it was maybe that gray line of whose ball was it. But yeah, we really don't do this year, like, I don't know. winning is what they want to do, and when they lose, they're not happy about it.
Yeah.
There's no lack of competition, but yeah, we don't really have punishment for losing.
Yeah, I think it was Jim Harbaugh who like if he has like drills where it's like winners and losers, the winners get to run sprints because he says like they get an opportunity to get better. They're going to be better than you. They're going to
Get
be
some
more
work.
fit than you. They're going to be faster than you because they're getting a chance to get better while you have to watch them. And I'm like,
Yes.
it's kind of
Interesting.
neat, I guess, but I don't know if
Did you
girls,
see
teenage girls
this
would like that.
weekend Syracuse football after they won ran sprints
Yes, I
after
did
their
see that.
game?
Yep.
That was pretty
They won. Yeah.
Yeah, they won, and they were out there running sprints after.
As a whole team, just across the whole
Yeah.
sideline, which I like. I like that rather than like, hey, we're gonna go groups. I like the whole team kind of doing is.
Yeah.
So you're having them run for a no-go or something? Is that
Yeah. They got to like touch 8 lines is kind
there
of
you
our
go, yeah.
back and forth. Yeah.
I'll do 8 full court pancakes. Run, dive, pancake.
Nice.
They hate it.
I'm sure
But
they
hey,
did.
get on the ground. You should have been on the ground diving
Yeah.
for that one ball. Now
Yeah.
you got to do it 8 times.
You got to have something that they hate that's going to change the behavior, and it's we got to do it. We got to hold them accountable.
Yeah, for sure. All right. This is going to be a question I ask everybody that I talk to. Give me your favorite drill. I think I know it. You've
Favorite
demoed
drill.
it. Maybe you've demoed it before, but like, all right, you've got 20 minutes left to practice, 50 minutes left to practice. Girls just want to do something, whatever, and you got your favorite drill. What is it?
I mean, that's leading me in an answer, but I'd say my favorite.
Okay. I didn't mean to do that. All right. So
yeah. My favorite
just
drill, I
favorite
think,
drill.
is trap, which is just
Okay.
tips, rolls, and pushes. And
Okay.
it's just like a minute. It's usually the beginning of practice. It's a minute on the clock. Our manager's kind of just like entering balls. He's just chipping them in. But if the ball dies, he's putting another ball in immediately wherever it died. So play just continues straight for a minute. When the buzzer goes off, you can kill the ball. But up into that, it's just tips, rolls, and pushes. So we're working on shots, and we're working on our defense. We're working on our covering. We're working on transition. We're working on our fitness. And, pick anything that's going on in that drill. And it's just, we don't even score it. The kids sometimes like want to score it, but it's happening so fast.
Yeah.
And it just has everything, so I love it. Are they, you just pick out a kid, and are they playing their off-logger defense? Then they transition. Do they max jump and hit this shot? So it gives them a lot of ability to work on shots in that, which is huge. But there's just an intensity about it. And if you're not intense, like there's going to be no-goes out there, like balls will be hitting. But if not, like it's creating the opportunity for a lot of communication, it's awesome. So that would be my favorite. And if it was at the end of practice, I really would just get into that whole. The other day we had 15 minutes left, and I'm like, all right, can we get a 25-point game in here? And I was like, all right, we're going speed ball, and we finished like a 25-21 game in like 13 minutes or something. It was crazy, and they were gassed, and not a lot of time to think in between plays, and freshman setters are having to call what we're running, before they've even gotten into their position. And it's just really stressing them out, and they're exhausted, and just trying to keep the intensity high and the communication high when they can barely breathe, that would be something that I enjoy doing, is just a little bit speed of play, just volleyball.
Okay. Awesome. I like it. I thought it was going to be dig or die.
We actually haven't done that much this year. But a lot of the players, that's a drill they love. Another one that we haven't done, which just made me think of it, that we should do soon, is just like outside versus outside, 1 to 5 kills, just that kind of, we call it mano y mano. And man, the competition level just really ratchets up. Kids hate to lose that drill, where it's like awesome. they get every ball in the whole rally. And we do like left versus left, rights versus rights, middle versus middle. And switch sides when you get halfway, and they just they hate to lose that game. for sure.
That's what you want to see. Do you do that with the middles and right sides too, or just outside?
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
we do it with everybody. Middles, it's hard. We might put
Sure.
some rules on. We just don't want like a triple block every time in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get on the ball all the time. Sometimes we'll let the back row points
Okay.
count in some way for them. But yeah, it's a really solid game.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Brian, man, I appreciate it. I
Yeah.
definitely learned some things, and thanks for sharing your knowledge with us and talking to me about all your practice stuff.
For sure.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Ross.